721 here. Kelly Jackson, McGraw Millhaven, Big 550 KTRS. Jay DeLong, say hi to the audience.
Morning.
Kane Sarhan, say hello, Kane.
Hello.
You are an institute founder. What is the institute, and what did you find?
Institute is it's a nonprofit. We started in New York City. Are about to open a St. Louis campus. We are building the first national apprenticeship program for 21st century careers in business, technology, design, and entrepreneurship.
So what does that mean?
Yeah, totally. So what we do is we run a higher education program for 18 to 24-year-olds, millennials. We place those young people in 1 to 2 year paid apprenticeships under founders and executives at high-growth companies around the country.
All right. Jay DeLong, you're the Regional Chamber Vice President of New Ventures. What does this mean for St. Louis?
Right. Well, we've got the startups that need the talent. So if Kane's recruiting talent from around the United States and they're looking for opportunities to work with CEOs of startups, we've got those startups, and we'd love to place them and have Institute grow here in St. Louis.
So the idea is to bring in talent from around the country?
Yeah. So we recruit nationally. So about 70% of the apprentices we'll place in St. Louis actually won't be from here. They'll be from somewhere else in the country. 30% will probably be local.
Right.
So local talent looking to get into the ecosystem, but a majority of them actually won't be from here.
And then how would these people from outside the region, if there aren't campuses or dorms or anything like that, how would they figure all that out?
Yeah, totally. So we do a campus. So we have full-time staff in every city that we work in. We have physical space where they meet up 4 to 6 hours a week, community events, classes, leadership development, all of that stuff. As for housing, we work with local landlords and local community organizations to pair them together. So we accept our apprentices in a class model. So a cohort comes in together. We connect them to live together just like you would be connected to live with someone your freshman year.
This is the third program of its kind?
Yeah, it's the third campus. We have New York and D.C. already.
And how is it going in New York and D.C.?
Really good. 90% of our graduates leave the program with a job paying them $55,000 a year or more, or start their own company. So our metric is, are you employable afterwards? And it seems to be working.
And so, go ahead, Kelly.
And so for St. Louis, why St. Louis? What made St. Louis so attractive to you?
Yeah, it's interesting. We get this question all the time, and from people from St. Louis. I think for us, honestly, St. Louis wasn't on our map. We weren't planning on doing it. We came here for 3 days out of a whim. One of our alumni from our first program is actually from the St. Louis area, and he convinced us that we had to come check it out. There was a lot going on here. It was really a cool ecosystem. So we came for 3 days, met with people like Jay and Maxine Clark from Build-A-Bear and Jim McKelvey and all of these guys, and they completely blew us away. We were completely shocked to see the growth and the innovation happening here, and it just got really exciting to be a part of that. And I'm also from the Midwest, so coming back home.
Where are you from originally?
Michigan.
Oh, we won't hold that against you.
So if I can just say, I mean, the startup community in St. Louis is just going to the moon. Last year we had more than 33 companies raise more than $1 million, right? And on the average, they raised $5.5 million. So these are little teams of startups getting the vote of confidence from the investment community that they're pointed in the right direction with their technology and their market growth. So we can place whatever students that he can come up with.
It seems to me, Kane and Jay, that if you're a tech guy and you want to start a company, it's really hard to start it in Silicon Valley in terms of cost and infrastructure and people costs. It's much easier to do it in a place like St. Louis, where the people are cheaper, it's cheaper to live, it's cheaper to live, work, and play. It seems like why go to Silicon Valley when you can do it here in St. Louis?
Totally, yeah. So I think the big thing has always been community and capital, right? So one side is you go there because there's a culture that supports it, right? There are people there like you, and you have like-minded peers. That's totally changing in St. Louis, right? The community at T-Rex and at these other organizations is absolutely massive and growing so fast. And then the second one really is capital, which is, access to the money and the people who fund these companies. And I think, there's always been a problem with capital maybe not flowing to St. Louis, which is something else that we're working on today with our launch as well. We're actually bringing in about a dozen VC funds. They're about to land in an hour from New York. to come to St. Louis to meet local St. Louis companies, because we think it's important that capital flows here, and we think it's smart to start a business in St. Louis. So we want to make sure the investors we work with in New York know about companies here.
Just don't drive them through the Bridgeton landfill fire. Just have them avoid that, and everything will be good.
A lot of other nice things to see.
Yeah.
So the millennials that actually will be taking part in this, these are kids who the typical four-year college just is not for them, right?
Some of them are also graduates of college, right? So we serve pre, mid, post college. Our sort of motto is to apply to our program. You have to be a U.S. citizen. You have to have a high school diploma or the equivalent. And other than that, we're not looking at your grades. We're not looking at your test scores. We're not looking at your traditional academics at all.
Let's say it's somebody who's 45 years old who wants to get
That's
into
what
the
I
tech
was
world.
thinking.
No, so we're starting to figure out how do we start serving career switchers. You know, really our program's we say 18 to 24, but we actually don't discriminate on age. If a 28-year-old or a 30-year-old or a 40-year-old applied to our program and we thought that we could serve them properly, we would. I think from a cultural standpoint and just from a programming standpoint, the 45-year-old is not going to enjoy the stuff we do on the side as much as the 18-year-old is.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, totally. But
McGraw probably would.
Hey, I'm a hipster doofus. I know what's going on. Kane, give us some success stories from New York and D.C. that we might know.
Totally, yeah. So one of my favorite success stories, we have a local student who actually comes from Nebraska, or Midwest student, came to us from Nebraska, 18-year-old, graduated high school, was never your good traditional student, right? Was not like the kid who did well on that ACT, was not the kid who had the good test scores or the good GPA, but has always been an entrepreneur and very entrepreneurial. Started a cupcake business at his high school when he was growing up. He went through our program. After a year of our program, got a full-time offer with a company in New York that just raised $40 million. It's valued at $300,000. He now has equity in that company, or $300 million. He now has equity in that company, so he actually owns a part of it. He has a full-time job, a full-time salary, and he's 19 years old.
What's the company?
It's called Unified Social. Another example, if you've ever heard of a company called Thrillist, it's a men's company, media company, pretty big in New York, probably 10 million people who use it every day or get their emails every day. We have one of our fellows, Ben, came to us after dropping out of college 3 times. He kept trying to go to school and just kept dropping out because it didn't make sense. He's now one of their directors of product, making more than I make a year at 20 years old as a college dropout, right? And it's because he had this apprentice under the founder. He took care of him. He mentored him. He gave him guidance. And now he's running to the winds.
Jay DeLong and Kane Sarhan, give us 1 or 2 companies that we should know about that we might want to use with our apps or our phone or our internets or something.
Well, you guys certainly heard of Lockerdome, I'm hoping.
Right.
One of our biggest, greatest growth potential companies, I think. If you enjoy sports, you got LinkedIn for your business life, you've got Facebook for your personal life, and you got Lockerdome for everything else. So I'm pretty impressed with what those guys have been able to pull off. And we have a myriad of life science companies that are going to be solving cancers and providing cures to diseases and all kinds of issues that we're trying to address in healthcare.
All right, Kane?
Yeah, I'm going to give you a New York one just because it's home. If something way less life-saving, there's a new app called QuizUp, if you don't have it yet. New York-based startup. They've been going for not long. I think one of the fastest companies to ever reach 1 million downloads on their app. One of the most addictive, fun games, but also like trivia-based and knowledge-based. So you actually can do anything from you can do entertainment and do quizzes about Kim Kardashian, or you can do science and do quizzes about molecular biology. But it's really addictive, really fun, and really social.
QuizUp.
QuizUp.
All right. Kane, how do we find out more about the Institute and all that?
Yeah, totally. So applications are live as of yesterday. So if you're interested in applying, website's instituteu.com. Also, you can find us across the internet, Twitter, Facebook, you name it, we're on it. And I really encourage millennials, specifically local people in St. Louis who want to apply, to check us out.
That's Kane and Jay. Guys, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
7:31 here, Big 550, KTR.